when we're down in the down there looking through records, he keeps bringing out crate after crate of records, and the more crates he brings out, the more I start to realize that the exit, the very difficult to get to exit, is being concealed. So it's really, and then of course he's like, "Do you want to smoke some pot?" Which I really don't. I really don't at that point. I don't want to smoke pot in the creepy guy's basement in the snowstorm when all the exits are cut off. But it's like, well, I guess I should do this because maybe I'll find my records. So this is where we were somewhere around the middle of side 2 of Rubber Soul when the drugs began to take hold. When Bob offered me some ganja, he said it just like that, ganja. He sounded like an undercover cop trying to buy drugs. I was hesitant. I liked the idea of marijuana. God knows I spent the better part of my youth consuming it, but it wasn't a part of my usual routine anymore. I was out of practice. I wasn't even sure I remembered how to hold a joint correctly, much less smoke it. But I hemmed and hawed when Bob started rolling because I was nervous. But when he finished the blunt and he handed it to me, I looked at it, considering my options. I was in a basement in a small house in southern Illinois, in a room with an impressively low ceiling, exposed pipes perfectly situated for head bunks, and only one exit that I was aware of, a rickety flight of stairs, with plenty of loose boards making escape difficult at best, leading up to the first floor. It was snowing outside, and I was pretty sure my car was stuck in its driveway, submerged in a snowdrift. I wasn't going anywhere for a while. I texted Kelly, my wife, the address, and I told her what was happening. I asked her to stay by the phone in case I needed her to call 911. She called me immediately, and I asked Bob if I could use his bathroom. "I don't like anything about this," she said. "It'll be fine," I whispered, picking at the peeling wallpaper. "But we need a code." "A code for what?" she asked. "If I'm in trouble, I can't call you and say, 'He's handcuffed me to a radiator.' I've got to be subtle." "This is making me very uncomfortable," she said. "Okay, how about this? I'll tell you, I wasn't able to find that Bananarama song you were looking for. Is that good?" "Bananarama?" she asked. "What's wrong with that?" "I don't like Bananarama." "What does that matter? He doesn't even know you. Can you make it something other than Bananarama? They had one good song." "Bananarama is easy," I said. "I've seen half a dozen Bananarama records already today. They're in my head already." "That makes me look like an idiot," she said. "Can you make it an Arcade Fire song?" There are records from a store that closed in the late 90s, I said. "They're not going to have anything by Arcade Fire." "How would I know that?" she asked. "Maybe I think it's a new record store, someplace with music for people not living in the past." "We're doing Bananarama," I whispered back to her. "It's less suspicious." After I hung up, I took the joint. If I was going to die here, in the creepy basement out of a horror movie, in an epic snowstorm that was like an icy prison, with a wife unwilling to pretend like Bananarama to maybe save her husband's life, I should at least go out with a smile on my face. I smoked it tentatively, inhaling the smoke through pursed lips. I wasn't breathing much of it, but I bulged out my cheeks like a stoner Dizzy Gillespie. I went back to the boxes. I wasn't sure how many I'd been through or how many there were left. Bob hadn't given me an exact number, but I knew there were a lot. I'd been down in this basement at least 4 hours, flipping constantly, and there was no indication that we were nearing the end or even the middle. I sat on his couch, which had the texture, color, and consistency of a giant turd, and I leaned over the boxes that Bob would carry out one after another from some back room or from a pile in the corner or wherever they happened to shove them when his brother dropped them off. He brought up boxes faster than I could get to them. There were 2 pillars surrounding me like pieces in a game of Jenga. Satisfied that I had enough to work with, Bob ducked under the industrial work lamps, the only source of lighting down there, which hung from the ceiling from extension cords, to look at his own record collection. And of course, to tell me about it. Because that's why any human male collects music in any format, whether it's vinyl records, CDs, or even meticulously curated MP3s on his iPod. He does it in the hope that somebody will come to his house and want to know the philosophy behind his cataloging system. That's very true. So look at me commenting on my own. Yes, well played, Spitznagel. Yes, so true. Show me a person who doesn't want to explain to you in a monologue not dissimilar to a TED talk why he decided to organize his records by genre rather than alphabetically, and I'll show you a man with no soul. This is various artists, he said, his voice echoing from a maze of shelves. This is rock. This is Christmas. This is country. This over there is reggae. This is my reggae 12 inches. I like to keep them separate. This is Zimbabwe. This is African albums. This is other international stuff. This is Arabic. This is folk rock, blues, jazz. All together, I asked, looking up from my box. Yeah, no, it makes more sense that way. It maybe didn't make a lot of sense to devote entire sections in his music library to Africa, and then a country within Africa, and yet lump together Pete Seeger, Marilyn Manson, and John Coltrane into some sort of musical group. But something about it was calming to him. I have this theory that if your records are not in order, then your life cannot be in order, he said. So quiet that I wondered if he was talking to me. I really think that's true, I said. If you're going through a real hard time, you rearrange your records, he said, pulling out a record to examine it, touching it gently. That helps. It makes things make sense again. We had that moment, that quiet moment when you realize someone gets you, and you feel a little less alone in the universe, and you don't want to say anything else, because saying anything else would just muddy it. And it's hard enough to be quiet in the same room with somebody who thinks like you. And then other things happen, but I'm not going to ruin that.